Ball game!
Saturdays are all but holy days in the South, especially places like Alabama and Georgia. That day is allotted for college football, especially in places like Alabama and Georgia who have a very intense love for their college football teams. For many years now, the occasional meeting of the Alabama Crimson Tide and the Georgia Bulldogs have national implications on the college football landscape. Each year, they are vying for the SEC title or for a national title. It started mainly in September 27 of 2008 in what was called the infamous blackout between the hedges in Athens, Georgia, where the number 3 Dogs hosted the number 8 Alabama Crimson Tide. But to the Dogs' dismay, Alabama was hitting on all cylinders and at halftime had a 31-0 lead over the number 3 Georgia Bulldogs led by Mark Richt. The second half was a little bit different, with Georgia trying to come back for a win, but ultimately fell short, Alabama taking the victory 41-30. Then the annals of football history tags January 8th of 2018, a day of infamy for the Dogs, when a freshman QB, Tua Tagovailoa, on a long field in overtime, Tua launched a 41-yard pass to future Heisman Trophy winner, but then freshman Devontae Smith, to beat the Dogs in overtime, 26-23, securing Saban's 6th career national title, tying the legendary coach Paul Bear Bryant for the most in history. Then finally, January 10th, 2022, saw the Georgia Bulldogs pull a win against Saban and the Crimson Tide, securing Kirby Smart's legacy at Georgia and winning a national title. The Alabama Crimson Tide and the Georgia Bulldogs have not met on the gridiron every year. Their occasional meeting, though, always has implications. In history, they have played, or I should say they have met on the gridiron 74 times. Now, Alabama leads the series with 44 wins, 26 losses, and 4 ties. The longest win streak is owned by Bama from 2008 to 2021, with 7 straight wins during the Saban era. In history, the first ever televised college football game on ABC was Bama versus Georgia in 1960, with Bama winning 21-6.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Since the Gene Stallings era in 1992, Bama holds a 9-4 lead, which includes 3 SEC championships and splitting 2 national titles with Georgia. These 2 behemoths of college football have only 273 miles between the hedges in Athens and Saban Field in Bryant-Denny Stadium in Tuscaloosa. Border states with animosity towards one another. There's no dogs that like crimson, and there's no Crimson Tiders who like a dog. They're always at each other's throat. And every time they meet, they change the landscape of college football in one way or another. In 1859, Charles Dickens wrote one of his masterpieces, A Tale of Two Cities. And I quote the opening lines of this novel. And I quote, "It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. This game on January 28th of 2024 could be called a tale of two college football powers. It could be called a tale of two halves. It could even be called a tale of two QBs. Hell, it could even be dubbed the tale of two twos. One thing is for certain. The game on September 28, 2024 in Tuscaloosa, under the lights of Bryant-Denny Stadium, was not for the faint of heart. Hell, this game even gave me some flashbacks from the blackout game in 2008, for they have similarities. I remember that game well, for I was in Pumpkin Center, Tennessee, at the Pumpkin Center located at the head of the Tail of the Dragon. If you know, you know. If you don't, then look it up. We were there staying for the night, crew and I, and luckily the landowner of this place cooked all of her leftover appetizers that had not been cooked from the season for us while we were watching the game on a big screen TV on a big deck at her little kitchen inside the grounds. The blackout game saw the Dogs decimated by the Crimson Tide in the first half, with the half ending with a score Bama leading 31-0. The Dogs did what they could to come back, but came up short, and the game ended with Bama winning 41-30. That was a number 8 Alabama versus a number 3 Georgia Bulldogs with Mark Richt at the helm. Flash forward to September 28, 2024. Nick Saban is present at Saban Field, and Kirby Smart is present at Saban Field for the Dogs. But there's one major difference. Saban is now a part of ESPN's game day crew. Bama is led by a new coach, and the new coach of the Tide, Kalen DeBoer, has the reins in T-Town. And with his first SEC battle, remember, like I said, a tale of two teams, a tale of two QBs. Yes, I did say that. Bama's Jalen Milroe completed 27 of 33 passes for 379 yards with 2 TDs and a interception, and he also ran for 179 yards and 2 TDs for a total of 4 TDs and just yards on the ground as well as in the air. Now you have Georgia's Carson Beck, who was 27 for 50 for 439 yards, 3 TDs, but he had 3 picks. His first 3 of the year. Now, Milroe led like a field marshal in the first half, amassing a lead with TDs on the first 4 drives of Bama on offense, gaining a 28-0 lead with only a few minutes left in the second quarter. The Dogs managed a TD, and this game would see the presence of a Kid Rock, old Bo Cephas was there, and a former president and presidential nominee by the name of Trump. Yes, sir, Donald Trump was there. And like I said, a tale of 2 teams, Bama, Georgia. A tale of 2 QBs, Milroe, Beck. Jalen Milroe opens up with a 7-yard scamper for a touchdown. Then, Jam Miller receives a 16-yard pass for a touchdown. Next, Bernard takes the end around for a 7-yard TD rumble for an Alabama 21-0 lead over Georgia, just like that. Then, an interception leads to Milroe scrambling around the right side of his line, tiptoeing on the sideline, and turning on the Jets for a 36-yard rumble for a touchdown. 4 unanswered TDs for a 28-0 lead over the Dogs of Georgia. Now, with 6:43 left in the second quarter, Georgia's Trevor Etienne took a 7-yard pigskin rumble to the house for Georgia's first TD of the day. The lead now 28-7. Alabama gets the ball back. Alabama's driving. Milroe drops back, throws to his tight end, who cannot handle the ball. It ricochets in the air, intercepted by Georgia. 2 plays later, Carson Beck drops back into the end zone. Looking downfield, he's pressured by 2 defensive players. As he throws the ball, he's hit. The ball just sails to an open part of the football field. Safety, safety. Alabama has now a 30-7 lead. Now, this is where I would tell you, remember, I said it could be called the tale of 2 halves. Remember, I did say that. It's time to learn you something today. Learn you what's called a gut check, for not many can handle one. It's too much test of their resolve. And these 2 teams decided they were going to test the resolve of the other, who was going to break. The second half started. Bama was leading 30-7. Georgia had the ball. Carson Beck leads the Dogs on a 15-play, 80-yard drive for a TD. Bama's leads cut 30-15 after the 2-point conversion. Bama's Graham Nicholson squeaks in a 28-yard field goal, putting Bama up 33-15. Bama has let off the gas just a little bit. Now Carson Beck, who's doing his best to bring the Dogs back, is going for it on 4th downs, throwing the ball downfield, just letting it all hang out, and luck be on his side, for he is making the plays that are needed to be made. And he gets a touchdown, too lucky, for an 8-yard TD pass to bring the score Bama 33, Georgia 21, with 5:39 left in the game. Now the Dogs, to my amazement, get the ball back and score yet another TD on a Dylan Bell run, capping a 4-play, 78-yard drive, bringing the lead by Bama to 5 with only a couple of minutes left in the 4th quarter. The game coming down to the wire, and my heartburn rising. Also at this time, my eyes were burning. I'm a somewhat superstitious man at times, and I believe I've been at my sister's too long watching this game, and I must get on the road. But I do not have my vehicle there. My brother-in-law has to drive me back home, and I must figure out a way to get him to do this. I tell him, let's go. I've got to get out of here before I cause them to lose the game. But with like 2:18 left in the game, Carson Beck nails Dylan Bell with a 7-yard pass for a TD, and beyond all reckoning, the damn Dogs have taken the momentum and now the lead from Alabama, leading 34-33. Now is where the tale of 2 twos comes into play. With 2:18 left in the game, the Dogs are leading Bama 34-33. Milroe gets the ball at the 25. Red 11, red 11. Blitz, blitz, come to, whatever. Milroe claps his hands. He grips the pigskin. He drops back, rears back his throwing arm, and launches a back shoulder pass to what looks to be one of the rare generational talents in the number 2 of Ryan Williams, with a Street Fighter-esque aerial spin move catch. He lands on the ground, covered by 2 defensive backs, yet he gives this outside spin move that makes the 2 defensive backs run into each other. Then he caps on the Jets, just outrunning them to cap a 75-yard TD pass in a one-shot Finch play. And with the 2-point conversion, put Bama back in the lead by 7 points. Tell me if this is not heartburn central. Now, I must tell you, I wasn't watching when it happened. I was sitting in my brother-in-law's car when I started hearing screaming from around his neighborhood. And these people don't live close together. I'm like, what's going on? He said, oh, those are friends up the road. They're screaming about something. I said, are they Alabama or Georgia fans? They're Alabama fans. I said, well, they're probably screaming because something just happened. So I rushed back into my brother-in-law's house to the TV to see the replay of Ryan Williams' amazing offensive touchdown. And yes, like they say on Alabama radio, 4 + 2 = 6, and that's a touchdown, baby. And I couldn't believe it. With the 2-point conversion, Alabama is leading 41-34. But there's a minute something left in the game, and Georgia can drive quick. But I was not going to leave now. I've done made my mind up. The Dogs started driving towards the Bama end zone. They finally reached the edge of the red zone at the 20-yard line. Carson Beck drops back to pass. He looks left towards the end zone, launches a spiral for his receiver, who's being covered by Xavier Brown, a true freshman, and the defensive number 2. But in perfect defensive back, he sees the ball because he turns around and he challenges the bigger receiver for the ball, going up and taking the ball from the receiver before the receiver could get his hands on it for the interception, for the Alabama secure win, 41-34, after Jalen Milroe conducts his victory formations. Number 4 Alabama had just upset number 2 Georgia in a battle for the ages, a tale of 2 powerhouses, a tale of 2 QBs, a tale of 2 twos, a tale of 2 halves. Yes, Charles Dickens, they kind of fall in line with a tale of 2 cities. And it was one hell of a game that had everything you could imagine a football game to have. A classic that should go down in the annals of football history. A battle for the ages, 2 teams giving it all they had, but not leaving it all. They have more, I guarantee. Other teams have now been put in check, for these 2 teams gave each other a gut check of astronomical proportions, and there's not many that can handle that. But these 2 did fairly well. Roll, Tide, roll. On to the next one. And this is Big Duke 6 with his coverage of the September 28th, 2024 Alabama-Georgia rivalry in Tuscaloosa. Until next time.